Hello and welcome to an India Today special broadcast that comes to you from Poland. I'm Gaurav Sawant. U.S. President Joe Biden is headed to Warsaw, and his attempt is not just to appreciate the role played by Warsaw, the role played by Poland in providing humanitarian assistance to over 2 million Ukrainians who fled Ukraine, but also to reassure the North Atlantic Treaty Organization countries that their interests stand protected. Not all are so confident after the manner in which Russia is going hammer and tongs after Ukraine. This is day 27 of the conflict. Over the course of the next 1 hour, we get you details and a 360-degree perspective from Ukraine, from Poland, from Russia, and from across the world. But first, our top story.
4 weeks of relentless pounding. Missiles and shells rain on Ukrainian cities. Besieged, bruised and battered, yet undeterred. Ukraine's resilience stuns Russia. Will Biden's Poland visit bring relief? The Ukraine stare down.
Bruised, battered and besieged. That's the story of Mariupol. And remember, Mariupol is extremely crucial. Why is Mariupol so crucial? One, the Sea of Azov, the Black Sea. Now, Russia's attempt is also to cut off Ukraine from the sea completely. Mariupol is also very significant because of the steel, because of the industrial workers. It is the industrial power center like Kharkiv, quite like Kharkiv. Mariupol is extremely crucial for the growth and development of Ukraine. And Russia on day 27, very, very systematically going after infrastructure in Ukraine. We bring you this ground report from Mariupol. The city remains defiant, but Russian tanks virtually now rolling very close to the streets of Mariupol.
The besieged city of Mariupol, facing the worst of Russian onslaught. Pounded, pulverized and flattened. Paying with piles of bodies, including those of children, even toddlers. Strategically located in the middle of Putin's advancing army, next on Kremlin's radar to gain full control to the Sea of Azov. Fall of Mariupol will also help Putin extend dominance from already captured Crimea. Now, ominous signs show that the city may have been completely overrun by Russian troops. Satellite images show Russian military and tank columns forcing their way into heart of Mariupol. Russian military vehicles are also seen on the streets. Russian forces mounting final push to capture the city of Mariupol next. Russia has on multiple occasions warned Ukraine to surrender Mariupol, blaming Kyiv for the unparalleled humanitarian crisis unfolding in the port city. Ukraine has defiantly rejected the surrender diktat and blamed Russian war crimes.
Once ordinary Ukrainians and now fighters, men and women who stand up for our state, everywhere in the south, in the east, in the north, in the west and abroad. Stand up so that the enemy does not believe that this is a reality. But we will make them believe and make them remember that they are not welcome and they never will be.
Just 50 kilometers from Russian border, will Mariupol be next in line to fall to Russian onslaught? With Rajesh Pawar in the Ukraine war zone, Bureau Report, India Today.
So whether it's Kharkiv or Mariupol in the line of Russian fire, but it was Kherson in the south, and Kherson is again extremely critical, extremely crucial. That was the first city to have officially fallen to the Russian advance. But counterattacks continued, and not one but multiple. The Ukrainian forces have claimed that they neutralized not just a number of military vehicles but also attack helicopters at the Kherson air base. The Ukrainians have also claimed that they neutralized a senior commander of the Russian forces in this town. But it's not just the forces, it's even the people who've come out on the streets. Now, Kherson officially has been taken over by the Russian forces, but the people came out on the streets. They stood up to the Russian tanks and they stood up in the line of fire.
Four devastating weeks of Russia's relentless air attacks. Ukraine bleeding. Destruction and devastation in besieged southern city of Kherson. Residential buildings, once bustling with lives, lying in ruins. Bruised and battered with relentless Russian attacks, civilians in Kherson are continuing to fight back. Showing unprecedented resilience, civilians in Kherson hit streets, protesting against the invaders. Only to be fired at with automatic weapons by invading enemy troops. Gunfire renting the air and smoke filling the scene as civilian protesters ran for cover to escape volleys of gunfire. Images showed explosions triggered possibly by stun grenades.
It is reported that protesters were protesting today against the Russian occupation in the Independence Square of Kherson city. When they were protesting, when the peaceful march was being taken out in the Freedom Square in Kherson city, it is reported that Russian troops have fired on these protesters, peaceful protesters, and have used stun grenades to disperse them. A lot of people have been injured, and there are reports that people might have even died, though none of these figures have been confirmed or verified by any of the authorities so far.
To Kherson, where we saw slaves shooting at free people, slaves of propaganda that replaces their consciousness. 40 million Ukrainians of our state, millions and millions of Ukrainians in the world, we have all seen you stand. We have seen who you are.
Protesting Kherson residents had managed to force Russian tanks to go back earlier. The Russian army had removed the Ukrainian flag from the city administration building days ago, amid heavy resistance from the citizens. The city of Kherson, a regional capital of about 2.5 lakh, was the first big urban center to fall into the hands of Russian troops after they invaded Ukraine on February 24th. But pockets of resistance still continue against the occupation forces. With Rajesh Pawar in Ukraine war zone, Bureau Report, India Today.
From vacuum bombs to phosphorus bombs, Russia is in the line of fire for using deadly non-nuclear weapons to bring Ukraine to heel. And this has led to widespread destruction and often deaths of civilians in the line of fire. We bring you another report about how Russia now stands accused of using a phosphorus bomb. Now, a lot of these weapons that Russia is using, and some are where Ukraine is virtually being used as a test bed for using these very high-intensity explosives. Ukrainians say this is not just an act of war, it is a crime, a war crime to use these weapons against civilian targets. We bring you this report.
Amid the raging war in Ukraine, Russia has been pulling out some deadly weapons to target civilians in key cities. In the latest, Russia is accused of launching illegal white phosphorus bombs, which has been banned under international law for use in civilian areas. These white phosphorus bombs, also dubbed as flaming onion bombs, are horrific weapons which can fiercely burn anything that comes its way. This weapon can cause grave injuries as it quickly fires up in the air, spreads over enormous areas up to several hundred kilometers, emanating tremendous heat and poisonous smoke. These white phosphorus bombs also have potential to instantly kill. Russian troops have been accused of using these deadly bombs on civilians in the Donbas. Show the alleged attack, but Russia has not reacted to any of these allegations. Bureau Report, India Today.
Three days from now, U.S. President Joe Biden is heading to Warsaw. What's his Warsaw trip all about? He's likely to visit a humanitarian assistance center. He's likely to interact with Ukrainian refugees. And do remember that over 2 million people from Ukraine who fled, they've come to Poland. They've gone to other countries, but more than 2 million have come to Poland alone. And there is a huge financial burden that Poland is facing. But more than the financial burden, it's the fear of the Russian invasion. Poland, a part of North Atlantic Treaty Organization, is not very reassured just by words that come from the United States. So this is not just about humanitarian assistance to Poland for Ukraine. It's also about reassuring the North Atlantic Treaty Organization member states that an attack on one would mean an attack on the entire North Atlantic Treaty Organization countries, and they will stand together to fight together. We bring you this report about what President Joe Biden intends to do and what Russia's President Vladimir Putin is doing.
He's about to mark a month of his invasion of Ukraine. He's about to mark a month of rapid-fire sanctions against Russia. And he's about to mark a month of warning the international community about World War III. In just hours from now, these three leaders will be on the same landmass. After his vice president failed to cut any ice in Poland last week, U.S. President Biden will be in Ukraine's neighboring country this week. The visit comes amidst weeks of suspense over whether Ukraine's NATO neighbors will help stop Putin's war machine.
Oh, I think he is a war criminal.
Will you be meeting with him?
Now, in the Ukrainian land, our soldiers and officers are fighting for Russia, for a peaceful life, for the people of Donbass, to denazify and demilitarize Ukraine so that no anti-Russia that has been created by the West next to our borders didn't threaten us. With nuclear weapons as well, as it was happening recently, our people is proud of.
U.S. President Joe Biden's visit to Poland comes at a time when Ukraine's President Zelenskyy has increasingly felt more disenchanted and betrayed by both the United States and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization countries. And this disenchantment he has openly expressed in more ways than one, and now on more occasions than one.
Зробити Україну, щоб стати членом НАТО, бути в безпеці, отримати гарантії безпеки. Ми чули відповідь, рішення такого на столі поки що немає. І найближчим часом не буде. Як і крісла для нас за цим столом.
Between the belligerence of Putin and the self-righteous counterstrikes by Biden, Europe is taking on a terrifying post-war hue. Devastation in big cities, talk of battle in the air, nuclear forces on operational alert, night skies lit up by explosions, weapons by the ton flowing across international borders, and the hustle and bustle of superpower leaders with no real plan on stopping the actual violence. Can Biden provide clarity on what happens next? With Gaurav Sawant in Poland and Geeta Mohan in Moscow, Bureau Report, India Today.
So on the one side, you have Russia's President Putin, who's going hammer and tongs, almost all out now on day 27 to ensure that President Zelenskyy of Ukraine is brought down to his knees. On the other hand, you have President Zelenskyy who's saying he's now open to dialogue with the Russian president in any format, no conditions. But what does this actually mean? Does this mean that there is an effort to bring an end to this conflict, or is Russia now intending to move forward to achieve its aim? Is that aim, does it remain, as on day one, a regime change, demilitarization of this country, or is a middle path being found? Perhaps will the Dnieper River be the new and the old Ukraine? The east of this river with Russia, the west with Ukraine. Let's figure out.
One is a strong man. The other has become stronger by the day. The one has at his command one of the most powerful militaries that the world has ever known. The other has become the most powerful symbol of military resistance. One is likened to strong leaders going back over 100 years, whose actions destabilized Mother Russia. The other is also likened to wartime leaders of Europe going back nearly a century. The one is Vladimir Putin, the aggressor. The other is Volodymyr Zelenskyy, the defender. If only this were a computer game. But it is not, and lives are being lost at every instance. As one man pushes his army to invade, destroy, and kill. And the other man pushes back. Pushes back against the invader. Pushes the conscience of the world to help him keep alive the freedom of choice.
Ми боремося за наші права, свободу, за життя. А зараз ми боремося за виживання. Тому що не хочемо втратити те, що в нас є, те, що наше. Україну. Зупиніть бомбардування. Скільки ще має впасти ракет на наші міста? У відповідь ти чуєш, що хтось цього не хоче робити, адже дуже занепокоєні. I'm addressing the President Biden. You are the leader of the nation, of your great nation. I wish you to be the leader of the world. Being the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace. Поки що не всі помічають, але ви ніби знов за стіною. Так, не берлінською, але посеред Європи, між свободою і неволею. І стіна ця міцніше з кожною бомбою, яка падає в нашу землю, в Україну.
If only this were history from the past. If only this were not terrible history in the making.
Такого единения у нас давно не было.
Vladimir Putin, in the 22nd year of his power, is no longer an individual. He's a system. He's an order.
Правильно, когда поставили жесткий барьер на пути.
He's both an individual and a symbol for all that Russia has come to stand today. 146 million Russians do not matter. What matters is what Vladimir Putin decides. Putin is more than an individual. He has become synecdoche, a minuscule Russian who has made himself represent the whole of it. Vladimir Zelenskyy, in his third year in office, is no longer the comedian he was. He has grown in importance far beyond the boundaries of his beleaguered country. Zelenskyy, in his military t-shirt, is a symbol too. Zelenskyy is resistance, a rallying call for 41 million Ukrainians. Zelenskyy too is a synecdoche, where the whole of Ukraine is represented in its one single minuscule part.
This war is only intensifying, and that's the apprehension in the minds not just of people in Ukraine, the refugees who fled that country, but people in the neighborhood. They too fear that the fire will singe them in the times ahead.